If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.
Hi there YouTube, Waffle here. Yeah, it has been a fair bit since you've seen me on video, and yeah, that's actually because I was sick. And yes, it actually was the virus. And I guess on the 4th of March or something like that. Let me check. Let me see. Yeah, on the 4th of March, Elise and I we went to the zoo. We went to Burger Zoo, and that was just way before any social distancing, not shaking hands or anything. You know, that was just way before all that stuff was happening. I mean, we were aware of the virus, and we weren't going to any crowded places and stuff. And as I had been on sick leave for quite some time, for the past year, I had been cooped up in the house for a long time, and it was finally time for us to go someplace. On the Wednesdays, we both are off work, and yeah, it's just a nice time to go out. And we figured that Burger Zoo, you know, 4th of March, being as cold as it was like, you know, only a couple of degrees, like 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. And there's something magical about zoos in winter. You know, you don't have the crowds, and the animals are, some of the animals that can stand the cold are still out. And it's actually quite nice to go to the zoo in winter. So we figured we'd go to the zoo. And it was actually, you know, it was not crowded on the parking place. There were a couple of buses standing there, so we figured, well, there would be some tourists, but the entrance gate, you know, it was all very quiet and not crowded at all. Just a few people dotted around. So yeah, we figured we'd go in, and well, we had a great time. And then we were at the aquarium. And that's actually situated off a big greenhouse thing that has a conference rooms. And I actually had a conference in that zoo a couple of years back, but we didn't think anything of it. And we just, you know, we went to the aquarium, and the aquarium has very large open areas, but also quite crowded areas with small corridors and just, you know, like these small windows dotted around that actually give you a view of a very large aquarium. So there's multiple windows that let you see the habitat of the fish and the critters from different sides. And I just love aquariums, so that was quite interesting. And then suddenly we heard a lot of voices and stuff, and we were just flooded with all these folk that had name badges and tags. And there was a conference. It turns out that they were attending an IT conference with a reference to Star Trek. The wife remembers, but I forgot. But it was actually quite interesting. A Star Trek reference, and they were speaking Italian, German, English, Spanish, French, you know, a whole international group, and we were just flooded with them. They were standing right beside us, watching the windows, the screens and stuff. And it was so crowded that Elise and I decided to get out, but we didn't think anything of it, you know. And for that week, didn't feel ill, and the next week, on the 10th, I actually got, I went in for some tests and got and some diagnosis and stuff, and I spent an entire day at the hospital. You know, no problems whatsoever. And then a couple of days later, I got some hay fever, and I also always have hay fever. At least also, you know, like prickly eyes, you know, runny nose, a bit of a sore throat, but you never get any fever, you know, with hay fever. I mean, it's a very, how do you say that? It's a very misleading name. You don't get any fever. It's just, yeah, you just feel snotty and sick, but it's just allergies. And what was weird was that, you know, on the 14th, 15th, the weekend of March, we actually both developed a low-grade fever in the evenings, and that actually was not a big deal. It sort of, yeah, just sort of lingered. We didn't really feel ill, and the symptoms were just not very worrying. And then that week, from the 16th to the 22nd, we got fevers during the day that would increase at the end of the day, and we really would have to take paracetamol to just keep the fevers down. And that weekend, we both actually were improving again, with one really weird thing that happened to me, because we both were having gastrointestinal problems. I more than Elise had a very congested feeling that a brick was laying on my chest, you know, like chest pains almost. And we both were having a dry cough, and I really had a pain inside my trachea and, you know, the bronchi, as far as I could tell. You know, like I'd had a pneumonia before, and it sort of felt like I was going there. So we were getting a bit worried, you know, like, oh my God, do we have the virus? And then during the weekend, actually the symptoms sort of subsided. You know, they became less and less, and we didn't have any fever during the day on the 21st and the 22nd, the weekend, 22nd of March. And yeah, I was just, I think we were getting over it. Not really any shortness of breath, but yeah, this sensation, that actually also improved a little. And then on the 24th, I had a teleconference with one of the people that has been treating me remotely, because, well, yeah, you know, the whole social distancing, handshaking thing went on, and I informed him that that I had symptoms, that I had developed symptoms, and that it might actually be the virus, but I wasn't sure, and the family doctor wasn't sure either. So they took precautions, and of course, the moment we got sick, we actually didn't leave the house. We didn't leave the house. When we got the hay fever, we actually didn't leave the house anymore, just to be on the safe side, you know, not to be able to infect others. And then on the 25th, the 24th, I actually felt quite well. My practitioner said, well, yeah, you're looking good, so you're probably on the mend. No fever during the day. Of course, we were still taking paracetamol. And I actually slept very well that day. And then the morning of the 25th, I woke up, and, you know, I made my good morning photograph, and actually, I believe I actually was making some YouTube videos, you know, some of the videos that were up. I didn't do much because, you know, I felt drained. I didn't feel that I had much energy. But on the 25th, Elise was in the bath. It was her free day, you know, it was the Wednesday. So like 3 weeks after that. So 3 weeks after probably getting infected and being asymptomatic for about a week and a half, and then getting symptoms, and then actually these symptoms subsiding. On the 25th, Elise was in the bath, and I suddenly was just so out of breath. I had a hard time breathing in. It was like there was this thing in my chest. It stung and it hurt. So it actually increased. So I called the GP, and I really couldn't finish my sentences properly. And I really was out of breath, and I was becoming anxious because I thought, well, I don't want to end up in the IC or, in the ICU or something like that. So she prescribed me some of the bronchodilators that Elise was using for her allergies, and for some reason those really seemed to do the trick. So I got a bit more air, and I wasn't as anxious anymore, and I took some paracetamol. Let's turn that down just a tad because it's a bit annoying. And I took some paracetamol, and I got an oxazepam just to keep the anxiety down. And I was breathing like 19, 20 times a minute, and normally it would be 16. And it would just go up a bit and go down a bit. And the GP actually she warned me, like, if you ever go towards 24, then it's really getting dangerous, because then you get out of balance, and so she told me that. She told me to really take account of my breathing frequency, and if I got any more dyspnea, then they would have to come get me. And of course by then all the consultations of the GPs were all over the phone remotely, and we were advised not to come to the practice because only for emergencies. But this actually was an emergency, and I got actually more anxious because of the GP, because she was anxious herself, and she really said, you really need to get in touch as soon as things get worse, and then she explained that a lot of people actually improve but then suddenly get worse, and that was happening to me, and that it was like 99.9% the virus. It was really scary, because I didn't see myself go through that whole thing in the hospital that a lot of people were going through. So I went to bed, and I was really anxious, and Elise was pretty worried, and then I woke up the next day, and actually I was feeling quite a fair bit better. I wasn't as out of breath. I still was out of breath, but it wasn't progressing, and I was doing a lot better than before. But I was having this fever, and I needed to take the bronchodilators every 4 hours, I believe. And then then the symptoms just slowly went away. The fever just went away, and I got to breathing a bit better. So both Elise and I think I narrowly escaped being at the hospital. And I'm a bit overweight, so and that is something that is one of the things that really can make people pretty sick, because there's some articles that say that it actually likes fat cells as well. So this camel hump thing, like the you're improving, and then suddenly you get worse, and then you improve again. That's something that a lot of people experience with corona. Or either you get it and you don't have any symptoms, or you get it and there's very mild, or you get it really bad. And I didn't expect to get it actually, and I didn't expect it to actually get that bad. And I'm a medical person myself. I'm a doctor myself, so knowing what is going on inside your body really isn't very nice. And yeah, now I'm sitting here, and I'm doing a lot better, because the days after that, the fever subsided, the breathing became easier, and the thing is that I'm still pretty much out of breath. I have shortness of breath. So yeah, the weekend came, and after that, and the fever. I think around the 4th or the 5th of April, I was actually feeling a lot better. The weekend, that no fever anymore, but the shortness of breath still still there, and I had a feeling that there was just mucus thing that just sits inside of the upper airway tract, and it's very hard to get rid of that, and it comes out. I can't see the color of it. It's clear. It's white and clear. And when I sit and I, very sedate, then I can actually narrate a video or speak, but I really have to catch my breath. A little less than yesterday. Yesterday I was trying to do some light garden. I mean, yeah, you improve rather quickly. So yesterday we'd been cutting. I had been cutting the willow. Actually, that week after we went to the zoo, we got some willow trees, and we call them knot willows, knotted willows, because we harvest the branches every year, and they use them for weaving baskets. They use them for making fences and stuff. And it's an old practice in the Netherlands. And I was feeling great, so I was cutting those off, and the branches were still laying there, from the week before. So yesterday, a week after, Elise and I, we decided to cut up the branches, make little bundles of them, and prepare them for them to be picked up. But just standing and just making these cutting movements and bundling them up really gets me out of breath still. And yeah, even talking now, I'm still easily out of breath, and that's something that is also that a lot of people are still experiencing. So yeah, I think I was very lucky, and you can get ill really quickly, so quickly, and get so out of breath that it's like surreal, very surreal. And now the way I feel now, it's almost like hard to believe that it actually was so bad, because you improve that much. But me being out of breath still quite often, and I have to take the puffs, the little puffy things. That helps, but I really can't do much yet, and that's actually quite worrying. And we didn't get tested. We weren't allowed to get tested. They don't do it. I'm a healthcare worker, so probably I'm going to be tested through work at some point. And then there's this thing that in the Netherlands, when you are symptom-free for about 24 hours, and then you're supposed to be safe and not a source of infection if you practice the hygiene and the social distancing. But we haven't been outside of our home. At least we've been in the garden for the past couple of days. Only when the other gardens were empty, or when the neighbors were just at a distance. We don't want to risk anyone getting it from us. the World Health Organization actually says 2 weeks of self-isolation, complete self-isolation is the thing. So it's actually a fair bit unclear on what to do, but we just, we're just safe. And luckily groceries and stuff, we had them delivered, and or we cooperate with the neighbors, combined online orders, so we would have more slots available just because we were combining an order for 2 households. And they would leave it at the door, and the neighbors would put it in our back garden, and we would just pick it up after that. So yeah, so not tested, but pretty much 99.9% sure that we got it. And the thing is, Elise has bronchitis, asthma, and she has it more severely than I. And actually, it was her medication that I was using with the doctor's approval. And yeah, I'm my allergies, my bronchitis, my asthma is just far less present than hers is. And with the virus, we actually thought that if we were to get it, Elise would probably get more sick than I, and it was the other way around. And there's still this mucus, this very hard to get rid of mucus that just sits in your airway, and you have a very hard time getting it out, and it just sits there, and sometimes it comes out, and yeah, that's just very unpleasant. Now, I wasn't gonna talk about it on my YouTube channel because everyone is making these virus videos, but I think it's actually quite important to do so, to warn people, to social distance, and to say, no, it's not like the regular flu, it's completely different. And if you get sick, it's not guaranteed that you just don't get into trouble. So young people, hanging out, having corona parties, just don't take the social distancing serious. They're mistaken, because there's a lot of young people that actually take up a large portion of the folk that are actually in the hospital now. Not all on ventilators, not all in the ICU, but yeah, they need some support, and you don't want to be in the hospital at times like this, with very sick people, overworked staff. You just don't want to be there. Yeah, I can't work at the moment. I'm gearing up to get back into work, but it's going to be telework, distance work. In my line of work, psychiatry, we are practicing a lot of our medicine. We do it remotely through telemedicine, which is of course far from perfect for the clients. And I think, if I am to be tested and I am immune, and we do practice social distancing, that might actually be beneficial for an immune doctor to actually do some stuff. So yeah, that's something that we're looking into. Yeah, it doesn't make any distinction. It's a scary thing. There's a lot of misinformation on the virus. A lot of people that don't have any backgrounds, any medical backgrounds, that say all sorts of things about it. People contributing it to G5 phone towers and setting them on fire. It's just insanity. People in denial, people attributing it to all sorts of things. Like believe a package is being I'm just going to pause the recording for a bit. Is it recording? Is it recording in? Yeah. So yeah, that was the postman, a small package. It's a hard drive. But yeah, there's a lot of misinformation on the virus, people making ridiculous claims, people bashing the WHO for reiterating Chinese information. You know, the WHO basically is your nurses and doctors on a global scale. They try to gather the best information and give the best possible advice, and they have to go with information that they get from, you know, the Chinese government and a lot of other different sources. They do a tremendous job in coordinating things, giving the right information to the right people, and it's up to the government to implement those things, you know, and the local national health organizations. And of course the WHO is hindered tremendously by social, economic, political, geopolitical issues, and it's just very easy to bash those folk. And I think that's really unfair, because they, you know, the people that are working in hospital, the nurses, the doctors, the paramedics, me, you know, I see the WHO as a proper organization that really in the past has helped to eradicate a lot of infectious diseases, and without the WHO, our health would actually be a lot worse off. You know, malaria, Ebola, you know, measles. Yeah, those really would be much more prevalent and horrible, and if it weren't for them. Don't think the virus is just a regular flu, because it isn't. I mean, it's from a similar family of viruses, but it's not the same. I mean, the world hasn't gone crazy. The world isn't overreacting. This is really something that that is important to take serious. And I guess that's the reason why I came forward and told you my experience. And I'm considered to be a healthy, fit person, slightly overweight, but I got it bad. Luckily I recovered, and I'm still recovering quite well, but it's just something that you can get in a very unexpected way. Well, I mean, I wouldn't go to the zoo right now, but even before, it was just like a big thing, a worrisome thing, going out somewhere where there's other people. It can just cost you. And I believe that we will get out of this, and I hope that humanity will learn from this, and that things will actually change for the better. And what is very astounding to experience is that if you look at what various politicians around the world have said about the virus, how they responded to the virus, you know, denying it, and then being faced with how big it is actually, like, yeah, it is a big thing, you know, it's human nature. I mean, everybody has that to a certain extent, and I'm really not sure if I actually am going to upload this. I'm a gaming channel for Pete's sakes, but yeah, I've in some responses online that sometimes talked about the virus. Yeah, I've let people know that I was going through it or was recovering from it. So I thought, yeah, it's good to just tell you about my experiences, just my personal experiences. And as a medical professional, I can only say trustworthy sources. A lot of fake news has been going around, and I think you're not wrong to just trust major news outlets as long as what they're saying, as long as what they're telling is, I mean, it could be that they shed a light from a different perspective, but the main thing should be like, this is it. And if your news source is actually like totally out there, like, you know, oh gosh, it's like completely different, that news source may actually be a rabbit hole filled with fake news and conspiracy thinking. And yeah, I'm still enjoying my stereo. My CD drawer sometimes has some issues that when you open it up, it immediately retracts. And I've had that before with this system, so I might open it up, check out the gears and stuff, perhaps it's dirty, and then stick it back together again, or just replace it temporarily with another of my audio components. Yeah, it's really weird to see what is happening. I mean, the virus itself is scary. What it does to people, you know, how sick people can get, the hardships. I mean, only on Facebook, I know so many people that actually have had family members or friends go to the hospital or have them die, that it's very hard to deny. And people attending group meetings with a lot of people and just say it's all right, and they're not afraid. Well, they should be, because it's a very contagious disease, and it's not certain that if you feel healthy that you will not get seriously ill. It just can happen in a heartbeat. So scary stuff. Now, if you're not keen on the virus or information about the virus, I can totally understand. I'm not that keen on it either. I tend to avoid reading up on stuff. I tend to only select certain times during the day where I actually confront myself with information about it. The phone, I'm not sure about you guys, but the phone really, there's always a WhatsApp message going on, there's always something going on. There's, let me check my work phone. That's actually quite good to stay in touch with people, to hang out with people, do social interaction with people through the phone, do video calls and stuff. I've been doing them more than ever before, and in some ways almost feel more connected to some than ever before. I've a lot of friends that I know since college, and quite a few of them I didn't see for a long time. I think about a year and a half. And the last time actually was a funeral. And before that it was an anniversary. And we just hung out on that weird Zoom application, which is very unsafe to use. And it was just fun, you know, talking, hanging out. And me talking, and me doing this Waffle, and perhaps doing some narrated videos is something that practices my lungs. And I think I need to be on the stationary bike and going out for a walk. I haven't been doing that. It's been great. It's been great weather, but luckily we're very lucky to have a good backyard, so we can be out and about and just enjoy the garden, do some garden work. We actually upped our vegetable garden activities. We got these square meter garden things on tables, high-rise, and some of them on the grass, on the lawn. So we'll be harvesting beets, red beets, and sugar snaps, and potatoes, and radishes. Radishes will be ready in 2 weeks, perhaps. And we have to guard them from all the birds that really dig those little small sprouts of green that come out of the earth. And so we put some netting over it, so that some bird safe netting. Actually, it's like a big surgical hoodie that you put over the square feet garden thing, so it's not like birds get entangled in the netting, because a couple of decades back gardeners would use that kind of netting and birds would get caught in it and die. That's not a good thing. We don't want to have birds dying. And what's really weird is that felines seem to be getting the virus as well. There's a lot of house cats that have issues breathing and coughing and stuff, and even the tigers in the zoo in New York seem to have gotten it. So back to the virus. I might actually do some recording and narration. Perhaps do a stream today. Not sure. I'm actually waiting for a colleague to get back at me to have a work meeting, but for some reason she's not calling. So, oh well. I must have had a tough night shift, or perhaps she's going to call in the afternoon. Not sure. But I'm just doing my thing. I'm drinking herbal tea. It's not the tea with the milk inside, but it's herbal tea, so it's like green tea. I love it. It really soothes your throat, and that's good. So yeah, I wasn't gonna do a virus video, and now I ended up doing a virus video anyways. Thought it was important to share my experiences, and even if you don't think you can get very sick, I never got sick, you know. I never used to get sick. Whenever the whole family was having the flu, I would be the only one not suffering from the flu, and I would, you know, make grape juice, make all sorts of things, and I would take care of the rest of the family. I wouldn't have any symptoms, and now it's just like, ooh, it was a scary experience, a very scary experience. And also famous people being affected. Just yesterday there was news that Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, was admitted to hospital, and what really astounded me was the fact that on Twitter and other media, people were just, people who aren't in his camp, in his political camp, are celebrating the fact that he contracted this disease and that he's in hospital and supposedly in a very serious situation. I just don't get it, I mean, he's a father, his girlfriend is pregnant. You don't want anyone to get seriously ill and or perhaps die just because he has a different political agenda or outlook on the way how things are supposed to run. I find it astounding that people can be so crazy. I don't wish any disease on any person or any political figure. It would just be horrible if that would happen, and we're all human, and if you don't agree with someone's views, well, you can agree to disagree, we have a lot more in common than we are different as a human species, and it would just be so wrong if we would just totally, how do you say that, totally badify, put a person in the bad camp just because he or she thinks or it thinks differently about certain topics. And of course there's, if you're like, there are certain topics that might not be reconcilable with interaction or a friendship or whatever, but just be kind and tolerant towards people who think or act differently. We need that, especially in these times. Oh well, I think for now I've waffled on long enough. It may actually be close to 2 hours even, because I paused the recording. The CD I'm playing is from Epidemic Sound. It's some of the funk tracks, and I really like to play those on this system. I also got a Logitech Bluetooth adapter on the line in, so whatever Bluetooth source I activate, the phone or tablet or anything, and I put it on the line in, I'm able to play network streams. I can even have my PC output over the stereo if I want, but I have Rocket studio monitors, wide studio monitors. You may have seen them in other videos with yellow cones, yellow, and I like the color scheme. They're white lacquered, and then there's a small tweeter that's just a plastic dome, little dome, and then a rounder shape with the cone with a yellow inside, black surround, and then the little dome inside of that is black again, and then there's this base port. And there's a bit of a hum, and I guess I got them very cheap from my brother-in-law, and I guess he got rid of them because of the hum. That's a very slight hum. I don't really mind, and the sound is awesome enough for me to just use them. And I might actually get rid of the hum by checking the power board and the capacitors on them, just to see whether or not that hum can be eliminated. Both of them have them. They don't come with the hum. It's not something that goes with the brand. It's something that they developed over time, and I think they've been turned on for a long time. They've been used. They're not, how do you say that? The cones are nice. I mean, they're not destroyed. The sound they produce is good, but there's just a slight hum, and it's not coming from the source. It's coming from the amp that is built in. And they do auto shut down. I mean, if they don't receive a signal for some time, they shut down. They turn on when the signal is being fed into them at a high enough volume, strength. Yeah, I think I'm gonna open up my package and see what hard drive sits in there. I've ordered an internal hard drive, 10 gigabyte internal hard drive, to have a complete launch box installed on my uber fast system. Just consolidate everything on another system. I have one in the game room, but I want to consolidate Launchbox and all the emulators in another system. And it could be an external drive. I've got these Western Digital 8 gigabytes external USB 3 drives that I also use to back up stuff. I have NAS, I have 3 NAS network attached storage devices, but yeah, it's always good to have some external storage in the shape of a solid hard drive, and they are really fast. I'm quite pleased by USB 3 connection speeds that these external hard drives use. I mean, they're pretty fast. So yeah, I might actually stop this now and show a bit of the launch box and the emulators running on it, or record some gameplay of real hardware. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it's time to shut off. It's just a waffle. I'm just gonna name it Waffle. Yeah, I got sick. I had it, or something like that, and probably just leave everything in it. It's just even my deliberations about cutting certain stuff. It's just me having a stream of consciousness, and you know, I'd like to think I'm a tolerant person, and I value each and everyone's opinion as long as they voice it in a, how do you say it, in a respectful way. I don't mind disagreeing with people, and certain topics you just can't agree on, which is fine. And I think it's also a good practice to just detect when you will not be able to agree on something, and don't resort to name calling or bashing or vilifying the other. It's a lost art, and I think that is something that a lot of world leaders, politicians, figures with a big reach, you know, celebrities and stuff, people with huge YouTube channels, may actually have to be an example. You know, just be civil. Being civil and respectful, that's something that seems to be a bit of a lost art. Even if someone says ridiculous things, or, you know, and of course if someone is intentionally disrespectful or just behaving like a fuckwad, you know, just shrug your shoulders and just move on. You know, there's just no it's just no point in discussing with people that didn't learn how to discuss, that didn't learn how to disagree. So yeah, it's time for me to go. I've been waffled I've waffled long enough, and I guess me speaking like this for such a length of time actually tells me that actually my shortness of breath really has improved since yesterday even. So that's a good sign. I'm really on the mend, and I really need to get my strength, my stamina back. So Oh yeah, my place of work actually sent me a card. We're happy with you. They send them to all employees. That's a nice gesture. So my hospital that I work in has it's a mental hospital. They actually created a special corona ward for inpatients that actually have tested positive for the virus, so that they really need special care and special attention, especially if people are confused and it's very hard for them to indicate their symptoms and stuff. So yeah, very interesting work, very interesting. And quite a few of my colleagues actually have pulled shifts on that ward. And me, I'm not a fan of these closed wards, but me perhaps ending up being immune might actually be an asset for my job to actually do something there. We'll see. Anyways, I'm signing off. Perhaps there will be more videos. This is just a talking video, and I think I'll put it in Resolve, and I'll do how do you say, an intro in the front and an extra at the end, and I probably will leave the rest of it intact, you know, nothing to hide. So yeah, okay, Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon. Ta-ta.